Hello! Welcome. So, it's now day 58 for Carissa's Juice Feast, which is pretty mind-blowing and actually puts her just about right at my longest. So, that was pretty quick. Um, so, we're just gonna try and get an update and everything. So, what's up? How's it going?
Well, thank you for having me here.
Yes.
It's good.
Please keep it down. Keep it down. We're trying to have a conversation.
It's very
So
formal.
yeah.
Very formal. It's been really awesome. I still it's easy for me. I'm sorry, but it is. My body just still doesn't really want to eat anything anyway. So I'm happy just drinking juices. I don't have to worry about food. I don't have to worry about what I should or shouldn't eat, what's going to spur me down into food addiction. I don't have to worry about any of that. I just drink juices and go about my life. And it's really nice.
Is it getting exhausting making the juice every couple of days?
It definitely was. And then it just hasn't felt so bad.
Really?
I think something about making it more simple, like I just do oranges and pineapples now, and I added grapefruit, but that's virtually the same as oranges. But it's just easier to just prepare all the same fruit and then just shove all the same fruit. That's like an easy fruit. There's no like soft fruit, and it's not like all the different kinds of fruit. It's not like will these or will these apples like be foamy or you know like any of those questions. It's just like oranges make juice, pineapples make juice. Like there's the juice. So it's more simple, and I guess that making it like less taxing, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
Yeah, and like I've lost 20 pounds now, which is way more than I wanted to lose. I was not like my lowest that I've ever planned on getting was like 135, and I saw 130 this morning on the scale, but I'm at like 130, like a flat 132. And I can tell I'm still losing weight, but I'm trying to up my calories. And I think that's going to be a little bit easier, especially if I stop still trying to make it more complicated. Like I don't like the grapefruits in my juice, and I have 2 whole gallons of, of juice with orange and pineapple and grapefruit. So like I'm just drinking it, but I'm like, why am I why do I even pineapple? I guess the pineapples have been cheaper. It's like $2.50 for a pineapple, and I went to Ingles and it was like $5 for a pineapple. So I was like, okay, well, it's definitely more cost efficient. But I kind of want to just make orange juice, so I might be doing that next.
Nice.
But it's been like more enjoyable. I've never really enjoyed the juices, I guess. I did the one time that it tasted like sweet tarts with the muscadine grapes in it, and then I like when they taste like strawberry. But that's also hard because strawberry is such a soft fruit, and it's hard to juice them, and then it makes a thicker juice, and that's harder to drink. But I think I'm going to go to all oranges next again and just like make it even more simple. Be able to get in more calories that way.
So what about some of the landmarks and kind of little breakthroughs and things? You've documented it all on your Facebook and all that, but just in general.
So I do keep like really well updated on Facebook. I have big posts every day or two, and I post both about the experience juicing, the like bowel movements and weird things that happen, and also trauma that I'm going through and processing. And I post really openly and publicly about it, and people share it and stuff, and I get a lot of comments about it. But I've had like 3 main phases. So the first 30 days I had a lot of bloating and discomfort, and a lot of it was like what I already have with any diet that I'm on. Like at first, the new diet helps and I feel much better, and then it doesn't. But this one didn't really have that like good phase. I thought it was, and it would go away, but it never did. And I had this bloating. And then what I started doing is leaving the juices overnight. So juicing for the next day. And then before I drink them, I skim off the top of the half-gallon jar all of the stuff that settles in the top. And then when I pour it, I don't pour the last bit with the sediment in it in the bottom. So instead of shaking it up, I stopped doing that, and I started separating all that solids, out of it. And the bloating just like went away. So that first 30 days was like a different world from after that. And so after that was much better. And by the end of like the first 50 days, I've had some like major both bowel and trauma like releases and big like I've done a lot of work with my trauma from my childhood, but this was like deeper levels of the stuff that you can be aware of and like say the right things and know better. Like, you know, I was a child, I don't need to carry around shame or guilt or, you know, those things. But it was like actually getting to the heart of it, having those worst moments actually come up and actually just having the opportunity to just be at peace with them, you know, and let them like wash through and just be okay and be processed by my body.
Re-experiencing it as I
in a way,
as
yeah.
I heard you describe it.
I think it's like when you're a child, you can't actually experience it because you're a child and you don't understand it at all. And so it just gets buried in you and you dissociate from it so you can continue to, you know, function and be a child. But once you're an adult, you can take that stored stuff out. I mean, you can't decide to do it. But if you stop medicating yourself with drugs, alcohol, food, you know, all of the things that distract you and make life more fun and enjoyable and stuff.
Sedated.
And you just feel the peace and calm inside of yourself. And then those scary things come up. They start to come up. And instead of like eating before they come up so it keeps them down, they get to actually come up. And then as an adult, you can experience them and be bigger than them. You know, they're
Process
not
it.
you're not a child anymore. You're not terrified and tiny, you know, and vulnerable. You're an adult now and you can actually, you know, handle it.
Yeah, I found myself so many times during mine just not being able to sleep. You need less sleep, juice feasting and everything, and so then trying to go to bed on time, I just lay in bed for like 2 or 3 hours a lot of times and like not be able to go to sleep and like literally just have high school drama and like just traumas from, you know, things that happened then and different stuff just playing through my head, and then like counseling myself the entire time and just nonstop, like you can't stop it. But then I didn't really want to. I was actually processing it, even though I've done so much of that, and I've known how to work through that stuff, and I've done so much. It was then, like you're saying, like a deeper level of it and really being at peace with it as it would come up and working through it and everything. And then sure enough, having dreams about that sort of thing, just mishmashes of all of that happening again. And then for the first time, instead of like, I would always have, if those things would ever happen, it would be pretty much like the punching underwater sorts of dreams where you just can't actually get done what you're trying to get done, or you need to attack something and you're just moving in slow motion and like hitting like this and like and instead it's like suddenly all of my joints and things actually worked, and I'm running from something but I'm parkouring off of everything and jumping to buildings and they can't get to me and all this stuff. Like it's like really being in a whole different world suddenly.
I definitely feel that, like I've just been in a whole different world. And that's one thing that, like, when I think about going 100 days, it's just this feeling of like, oh, I'll just be getting started. Like I feel like hitting 50 days, I'm just getting started. Because around 50 days was like when this huge stuff was releasing, and I had still been having, you know, a lot of the same illnesses that I've had that made me, you know, choose to do something so extreme. Well, has made me choose to do lots of things that were very extreme, and they have gotten me a little bit along the way, and I'm, you know, ready for this most extreme thing. And it's definitely carrying me where I needed to go. But I've had a lot of those illnesses like continue to stick around. Like I said, the first 30 days I was still bloated, you know, like the picture of me at 2 weeks, my progress photos, I was heavier and I had a big bloated belly, you know. My body was really like
2 weeks of not solid food and you're actually bigger than when you started. How's that physically possible?
Yeah, exactly. My body just retained a lot of water and it was very unhappy with the actual only solids that were in there. And so at around 50 days, I still have waves of, like I just got over a few days of having a lot of discomfort, and like needing to do enemas, because right before that, I wasn't really needing to do them, you know, I was just kind of having a bowel movement naturally every day, and I wasn't feeling the discomfort that usually makes me do an enema. Like if I feel hungry, like I really want to eat something, I'm preparing food for Thane and I really want to eat it and I feel really uncomfortable, or I'm putting it in my mouth and chewing it up and spitting it out and stuff, and it feels almost like I'm not making those choices. It's something in my bowels that's like in you know, within a day it's going to be something that's moving through and trauma that's coming up, and it's so clear that it's like that's my body's impulse to medicate, you know, like it's coming, hurry, you know, like give me something to pack it down.
Else.
Give me some nasty food and then we'll have problems with that, so you have to keep eating nasty food to push it through, you know. Those kinds of things. But I don't, and then all that stuff comes up and out, And it's really profound. And I feel like around day 50 was when it really was like my body had changed so much all of a sudden. And I'm just trying to get used to that. I'm trying to figure out what the hell to wear. Nothing, this is not a body type I've ever had before. Like none of these clothes are made for this body type, and they're all made for someone bigger. Like I'm trying to figure out my closet, and I can't even figure it out because my body is still changing. Like so I'm just pulling everything out of my closet now, and I'm not putting it back until my closet is empty, because when I put stuff back in, it's not going to be half of this stuff. But I can't get through all of it because there's just layers and layers of stuff that I've worn at different sizes that are in there. So without even realizing I was changing sizes. I guess because I was going to the thrift store and finding, stuff that I liked. So I was just going up in sizes without realizing it. And then now I'm smaller than the smallest size that I had in my closet. So I just like on that level, I feel like I'm just now getting started. For the first, I finally don't have the spots, those bumpy rash zits and stuff. I was wondering if it would last the full 90 days, because from what I remember, I did raw vegan twice for 3 months each time, and I had it really bad each time, and it just got worse and worse. By the end of the 3 months, it was worse and worse. So I figured surely I would have to get past that, but I don't have it on my face really. A little bit around my skin and stuff. If I scrape them, there's spots, little whiteheads or whatever, just dried stuff. And my chest is a little bit better for sure, but my back, right back here, is really bad. It's really bad. It's just a bumpy terrain.
Getting rid of something.
Yeah, and I'm not too surprised. So the trauma, the biggest trauma that I had, we were actually at a Bible study, and he was talking about something, and it just was interlaced with the trauma that we went through, and it just was such a deep release for me, this guilt and stuff that I'd carried around and for forever, because of how that impacted him and how I couldn't really fix it. And then just kind of seeing that he's found a way to be free of that, it was just such a relief and a release for me. And I just sobbed for an hour. I just sat there like this, snotting and sobbing, and people were comforting me and stuff. And that was just this massive shift and change. But the whole time that I was feeling it, it was this pain in my solar plexus, and it's always my back here. That's the last thing that I can't really I haven't been able to heal. And I know it's tied to my solar plexus, and that's right where my back is breaking out, all along that. So it's this area that's getting over it, and that was just over a week ago, just so. Yeah, 9 days ago.
Right.
So again, I feel like I'm just getting started. And around day 40 or so, I was talking to somebody about the problems that I was still having in my life, and the biggest thing was my constant irritability and reactivity and aggression. So when my son would do something, it would just make me really angry if he hurt me and stuff. There was a lot of triggered responses, right? Because when you're hurt as a child, you don't want people to hurt you, and so but I couldn't get that to go away, and I found that I was constantly in a state of I need to do all the things, it was as horrible as I feel as a parent, if he would just sit and watch his iPad all day, then I could be okay. And it was just such a horrible feeling, but I couldn't get out of it, and I needed to go and do. And the guy that I was talking to, I was actually Michael Smith. I was doing a session with him. And so he gave me some exercises and things to try to help with it. But when I was talking to him, I was reminded of back when I figured out that I was bipolar, and so I would have energy and feel awesome and feel like myself. And so I would go to the gym, and then want to go to the gym again tonight, and then go to the gym the next morning, and then want to go to the gym again tonight, and I would go to the gym 2 or 3 times a day, every day for a week or something. And then I would just crash, and then I couldn't go to the gym for 2 weeks or so. And I was depressed, and I barely got out of bed except for to go to work. And I was horrible at work. And then I would get back to feeling like myself and go to the gym, and so I was averaging to be a pretty good person, but it was this complete mismanagement of energy. And so when I was explaining to him my day and how in the morning I wake up and I have some energy and stuff, and so I need to get stuff done before I crash. And I was I'm mismanaging my energy again, but just in a day instead of in a week,
Wow.
or instead of in a, in a month. And I was like, the only thing that I can think of that would be at the root of that is caffeine, because I take a little bit of caffeine in the morning to get me to actually get up and get stuff done and stuff. And I was
Very
like,
little bit.
a tiny,
technically.
tiny
Right.
bit. Yeah, it's like 25 milligrams or less, 15 milligrams probably. And that's all the caffeine I consume. And it would just be that in the morning. And I was like, I can tell that I'm mismanaging energy, and I think that I need to just try getting off of caffeine. And my fear, whenever I've gotten off of caffeine, is I just turn into like a kind of what feels like a lazy person. Like I don't get much done. And I was afraid of that for so long, but I'm learning to like trust myself. I'll get things done, and not be like stressed all the time in order to do things. And so I was like, I'll just see what happens. I trust myself to do things. And so I stopped taking caffeine, and I found I do like lays in bed too long in the morning, but I'm like reading chapters for my schoolwork and
Right.
stuff. And like now Thane's old enough that like he goes out and gets, does his routine and stuff. He gets his iPad and his banana and, like does his wake up more in the morning, which is better than nursing. We're not doing nursing anymore. He's only, he's almost 4. And so it's actually been like, okay, and it kind of works, but I just felt at peace and like I could just be a person instead of being this person who had all this energy and needed to use all of this energy before I run out of
Yeah.
energy. And it was like, just calm the fuck down, And so I just found this like peace, and it changed. Obviously, I had to like relearn a lot of things, and like my body had to adjust and stuff, but that has like changed substantially. And that was like definitely a part. So again, I was just somewhat recently, again, I just feel like I'm just now getting used to it. I'm just now getting
Right.
started. So even though I'm like almost 60 days in, I feel like I'm
Yeah.
just barely getting into it.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much where I ended up too at my 60 days, but I didn't have any sort of support on any level. No one had any idea what I'm doing. Everybody had to volunteer that they just have no idea and they don't understand and they don't like what I'm doing, and oh, you look so skinny and you're killing yourself and all these other things. And so like I knew better, and I knew, whatever, but it was like I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like I want to just give my brain and emotions a release, and just get back to my vices of getting to eat incredibly cleanly, right back to raw food and everything. But I went straight to the really dense kale cashew cream salads and like way more than I should and everything else. I blew myself up over the course of like a month. But I definitely felt exactly like that, where it really was just kind of the beginning. I was just getting to where there was even deeper and deeper healing that was happening, and just deeper and deeper, just traumas, however loosely you want to define that, of just social interactions you've had throughout your entire life that bothered you and were unresolved and you didn't quite process properly and you didn't quite understand. They were still getting deeper and having more older and older ones coming up and everything. And I think I only did get back towards like the very beginning of high school practically. Like I didn't even get much much further than that, but it was such a drastic world change from not having really experienced any of this, not having gotten that far before, that it was like, okay, well, I have at least a foothold here. I can go ahead and drop off and know that's the direction. That's how I get back up the mountain, And I've been meaning to get back on it. And even today, specifically, I made extra juice and trying to do it, but I think I still didn't even make quite enough. I don't want to spend enough time in the kitchen, so I still only had probably 3.5 quarts, but I need more. I need a good bit more. I'm really hungry right now, so I'm probably gonna end up eating a salad tonight. But it's so hard to get started. As soon as you get past the first couple of days, you're in a routine, and you're not leaning so heavy on your past routine and like just ready for lunch, ready for dinner, but it really is fascinating how much of this time we owe. Like we owe so much healing time that it's unbelievable. No one would think that you could even be healthy or, be not harming yourself by not eating solid food for even that long and everything. It's like, no, you're barely even starting at this point, you have to be able to keep going.
Yeah, people keep asking me like, I'm thinking of doing a 7-day, I'm like, well, enjoy that. It's not at all what I'm doing. Like it's a very different world.
Well, and you should encourage them, because there
I
are the couple of
encourage them, because they're like standard American diet and doing this, and they're gonna jump right back into standard American diet, and it's just such a yo-yo thing. It's like so unhealthy.
Well, we'll have to talk about it another time. But it's just like what I was describing with my thing, that like stopping at 60 days was a foothold for me, and stopping at essentially it's about 5 days or a week is that first
Yeah.
really big foothold where you get the stopping, eliminating, you stop pooping after 3 or 4 days, and then about the fourth or fifth day or so, like you start eliminating again, and like, where did this come from? Like, I didn't produce this, and like it's really dense and gnarly stuff
Yeah.
that wasn't going to come out, and you start putting together that you've got a lot of work to do, and then you at least know you have some direction.
Yeah. I don't discourage them. I just also don't like. I just tell them it's not what like. I'm not really in. I'm not a juicing expert by any means. I'm just like a person who doesn't know anything about juicing, who read an ebook, who decided to get started, and I'm learning as I go. But I'm learning about my experience. I'm not learning about anybody. Like how
Right.
how it affects the body if you only do 2 days or 7 days.
Right.
Or I had one person ask about. If they just would do it for 5 days of the week, and then on the weekends they can have all the things that the family eats,
Yeah,
and,
that would
enjoy
probably
eating with
be
their
a
family. And
problem.
I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
that just does not sound
You're gonna
like a very
re-binge
good idea.
over
like,
and over and over again.
man, you're
yeah.
gonna eat a lot of that food, and it's
Yeah.
not gonna be healthy for you.
Right. You'll definitely hurt yourself with that. But yeah, specifically John Rose, that's essentially his prescription for everybody, is just about the like week-long juice feast to get the test in, to get the experience, to know, okay, it's hard to do this and it's hard to decide to do a long one or whatever, but at least know, okay, that's what I need to do, and
Yeah.
to start getting ready to do something like that. What does he always say? The test an idea that time has come, and take a solid food vacation and everything. And to that he is essentially meaning like the week-long thing, so you can at least get the experience, and then do the long haul of like, you just keep going until you stop eliminating dense hard stuff that you're not putting in, because you will, your body eliminates the dead red blood cells and different things out of your system, but it's not going to be that dense, nasty, mucoid plaque, hard, gross stuff that you end up getting out. When you're still getting that stuff out, you can still be getting rid of that stuff.
I haven't thought about it, but I haven't had the lining for 30 days or something.
Oh, really?
It was like crazy.
Interesting, yeah. But
Yeah, definitely. The elimination side of it is definitely very fascinating.
it's wild.
Yeah.
Well, and specifically, I think we may have mentioned it in the first one, but it's that not only getting to see that stuff's coming out that you're not putting in, but a few of the times when it's happening, that you end up having a really bad day, and you're just really sure that like you're done with this, and like you're just okay, this was really interesting, but like I feel awful now, and I just need to get back to eating, and and you're even specifically having some particular emotions of grief or guilt, or just something strange is going on where you just, something's wrong, and then sure enough you're doing like a enema or some sort of colonic or something, and you're trying to, and it's like suddenly all of it like coalesces in a moment while you're trying to eliminate, and you're like, I hate everything. This is the worst. I'm the worst person. What is wrong with me? Why am I doing anything? And then like, as it leaves you, you're just like, okay, no, I'm just, everything's wonderful. Wait, what just happened? And like, it literally passes as this dense, nasty stuff leaves you. And like,
that's wild.
that stuff is in you, keeping those thought patterns and those emotions inside you and activated at all times, and you really have to be able to do the work to get that stuff out, because you carry it with you.
It will like screw your mind, man, like having those experiences and really being like, whatever that is in the toilet, like that was a part of my emotional life. Like,
you identify with it, those emotions you carried with you for so long, and
like,
they're just part of your personality,
fuck
right?
you, dude. Like, I'm done with that.
It's such a strange experience that you keep with you forever. It's really wild. But so
definitely.
Any other breakthroughs or
well, I
anything
think
else
it's important to
interesting?
talk about like health wise, because it's scary watching somebody lose like a lot of weight or looking really thin or whatever. And I haven't gotten back into like trying to do weight training. I think around like day 25 or something, I was like, I'll do my upper body weights and see how that goes. And I couldn't make it through my whole workout. And then I had like just the most dysphoric like soreness for like 3 or 4 days afterwards. Really? It was just so uncomfortable. I was just like, this like horrible, like what have I done to myself? It was a terrible feeling. And on day 3, I went on a hike with a friend in the morning, and it was like an extreme, like climbing up a hill and like, extreme hike, and my legs were really, really, really sore after that for a couple days, and that again was dysphoric. Like I was fine on the hike, it just felt normal, you know, like I've got really good stamina and endurance and I felt fine, but then I couldn't recover. My recovery was bad for the days after, but on day 49 we went and hiked up to the top of Brasstown Bald, and so we were like hiking to the top of the tallest mountain. And it was only like a 30-minute or so hike, but it was like this way the whole time. Like it was just nonstop. It was never any flat or down or anything. It was just like just up. And I had absolutely, so day 49, I had absolutely no problem with it. I could more than keep up with people. I was hauling my son, you know, holding his hand, pulling him up for half the way, and then I asked for a reprieve, carrying my juice, and I was I was great. I could even like talk to people. I wasn't getting winded, and I had zero soreness. Like the next day, the day after, like absolutely no soreness in my legs, and that was pretty remarkable because that was a like long incline, and so that definitely clued me into like I can probably go ahead and. But then it was that was the same day that I had that massive sobbing emotional release. So it was like a pretty defeating day. It was like an exhausting day. And I decided like, I don't decide and force myself to do stuff. So like, I can tell that like, I will be starting to work out soon. I'm just waiting for that to actually happen. There will be a day that I'm like, okay, let's get out those weights and and I'll do it. And then I'll be like, oh, today was the day. Thank you, mosquito. But so I haven't quite started yet, but I have a feeling, given those experiences, that now my body would be ready for it. We were just talking about, you know, running up and down the steps here. It's an intense up and down those like 3 flights just to get from here to the house. And it's, you know, kind of intense, but I barely get winded, and then my recovery rate is really fast. It takes me like 3 seconds until I'm like back to normal. Like,
which has never been any sort of experience in her world at all. Like,
yeah, it almost feels superhuman. Like I don't know of anybody who can like just jog up 3 flights of stairs and then like, you know, just like be done. Like that's it. That's all the panting I'm gonna do. You know, like top of the steps, I'm done. So and we go on. I have the walk here to get to the mailbox, and that's been really, really, really easy. Like it's just been.
Well, I mean, you've literally trained for a triathlon before and did a triathlon, and you would have gotten completely like exhausted just going up the stairs. Like you would have been breathing heavy and having a harder time.
I completed triathlon, but I was 5th from the last out of thousands of people, and the people who were lapping me for the 3rd time of the entire triathlon were stopping to say, "Did your bike break?"
Yeah.
What happened? Like,
oh man,
why have you not crossed the finish line yet? And like, no, it's because I have to stop at every bathroom, like every, you know, porta potty on the way and have diarrhea because my body is completely freaking out. Like, I cannot do this, but here we go, you know.
And she trained for it for months beforehand because she knew she wasn't ready for it.
I kicked my ass. I was like, no more excuses, body. Like, you can do it if we just train. Like, we're going to be able to do this. And I trained hard. I was with team in training. I did all the trainings. I accomplished the triathlon. I did. And then I didn't work out for 6 months because it completely obliterated my body.
That should give you context. Like her body's had no capacity to deal with endurance or strength training at all. Like it just wouldn't give her anything. She was like the peak form of skinny fat that anybody could ever achieve. Of like she looked normal size and like doesn't look all that strange or anything, but like. Oh yeah, and actually you had gotten like a body fat measurement before and everything, like 0% muscle in her system.
Well, like it was 40%, and like I didn't look much different than this. Like the guy was like, "Oh, do you want to do that again? That must be wrong." I was like, "No, it's probably right." Like he was like, "Oh, okay, like that sounds right to you." I was like, "Yes, like yes, that sounds right to me." Like I'm aware that I am all fat, and like I'm aware. I know I look good in clothes. Like, thank you. But yeah, so I finally have like stamina and endurance, and I'm really excited. I've been doing weight training for as long as I've lived in my house now, so for about 4 years off and on. I've never really gone up in weights. Like I can't really, it's not how my body works. Like I do it to get, you know, to be strong and stuff, but like I don't, you know, like ever graduate to the next weight or anything. And I'm really hoping that I will be able to. Like,
you should be able to invert that experience because that's not how it's supposed to work at all. And I at least just being a giant guy, I've been able to do sports my whole life and everything else, but You know, it's a similar type of experience where there's just been a ceiling for me, and it did not matter what effort I put into it or how much work and how much time and dedication and going to practices and going to the weight room and everything. It's like, just because I was bigger than everybody, I could basically keep up with wherever their maximum was, but my maximum would never increase, just literally never. And so no one, you know, people have a really hard time believing us when we try and relay like how wrong our health has been, how unhealthy technically we've been, with putting all the effort in the world, knowing something's wrong and trying to reverse that and changing our diets and eating right, eating
the
right
fact that,
according
like, you
to...
can even sit in front of a doctor and like they do the tests and stuff and they're like, oh no, you're doing great.
You look
Well,
fine.
when you sit down and start talking to them, you explain what's going on. They're like, yeah, I can tell. Like, I can tell that that's really bad for you. And then they run their tests and they're like, oh no, tests say you're fine. You're good.
Tests say you're fine, go on.
Just go
Like,
off into life. And you're like,
excuse me? Like,
no, you just agree. Like, you got it. And then your test said I was fine because you don't have any way of understanding what's actually wrong with me. So, okay, cool.
Yeah, I got pretty mad at doctors over the course of all this. Like, oh man,
Apparently our answers weren't out there.
yeah. And this has really been kind of the first thing that's reversed any of this for us. I mean, it's really unbelievable, and it really has specifically reversed it. Like, it's for the first time ever actually being able to build myself up and have endurance and do the different things. Before, endurance to me meant pain tolerance.
Yeah, right.
Endurance meant that I could ignore my body saying, I'm dying right now. Please stop anything that you're doing.
You're really good at that.
No, I'm a man. I can ignore my body better than anybody and everything, and I'll finish the race, but I'd just destroy my ligaments and tendons, and I'd be sore for 3 or 4 days afterwards and not get stronger in the wake of it. You know, that something was very, very wrong. But this is definitely, you know, changed that.
And when he says that, like, he made it to 60 days, but it was like totally against the current and like nothing to follow and no one to support him and all of that, like, it's very night and day difference, because I can't say I was necessarily like considering it. I mean, we talked about it a lot. I was doing an all meat diet and I was having the benefits that I was looking for from that. My insulin resistance was stabilizing and was much, much better, but I also was getting really, really, really sick of meat. I've been doing it for 6 months, and I was like, we had talked about it, and I was like, look, this is helping my body. It's the polar opposite. That doesn't seem like a good idea. It's just sugar all the time. My body needed, no sugar for a long time, and like, I don't think it's a good idea and stuff. But through his 60 days and it wasn't just like he started from a standard American diet and did 60 days of juicing. Like, he's been on a long journey of like slowly becoming vegetarian, vegan, raw vegan, juicing, a little into, and then back to raw vegan and juicing and
now 3.5 years raw
then
vegan.
doing the 60 days and still being against it. But he was against the grain of the entire family. Like, everything that I believed was like on the, well, we both agreed that like you really shouldn't do high carb and high fat, and if you're going to do one or the other, you can't do the other, but like like you can do a high fat, high protein diet, and like you're not killing yourself like if you were in the middle with like a standard American diet or whatever. We agreed on that, but I was always on the other side because I didn't tolerate high carb. I just didn't tolerate it well, and so I was pretty much in that camp, but I was also considering it because, like I said, I was on this all meat diet for 6 months. I was getting sick of meat, but if I thought about eating anything like a vegetable or anything, I had a pretty strong inclination that like my body was not really going to like that. It already didn't like digesting those things. It felt better when I removed them. And then it wasn't liking digesting meat anymore either. I definitely didn't want to add in the other things that had already shown me it didn't want to,
Didn't you kind of try a few times? I think you had a worse reaction, to having...
No, I didn't eat anything for 6 months. I didn't eat anything.
I thought at some point you had like tried some avocado or like just a little bit of some sort of vegetable or something, and it didn't process well.
Not really.
Gotcha.
But one of the like main things that happened was going on a walk, and he and my mom were coming from the other side. I may have told this story last time, but he and my mom were like walking up the hill, and I didn't even know he was coming. It was just like me and Thane usually meet my mom, and that she comes up this hill, and then we go for our walk. And as they came up over the hill, it was my mom and my brother, and he wasn't wearing a shirt, and he just was clearly healthier than I had ever seen him. Like, no matter what, how skinny he got or whatever, even though he looked emaciated and gaunt, he always had like a little, like a little pouch at the bottom underneath his belly button, like that little pouch that keeps you from looking like you have abs and, that stuff.
Disabled lower abs.
Yeah, he always just, that was just what his body looked like. And like, like we're very genetically related. Like, it was kind of what my body looked like too. And like, I never, expected our body type to be able to be different than that. And he didn't have that. And he had like abs and he looked muscular and fit and very lean, but in a very healthy way. And he didn't look like emaciated and all that from his diet anymore. He didn't look like a scrawny guy. He looked like a fit man, and he didn't have that like extra little bit of fat that he always had when he was that lean. And it just like clicked in my head that was like, okay, like he went the right way, like even though he was like really, like scrawny and, wasn't really changing his actual, constitutional, like who he was, like his actual body, our body type, wasn't actually changing. It was just, you got really skinny, Right. And all of a sudden it was like, no, he's different. Like that's a completely different body, like than he's ever had before. And it was just this like, okay, I know where I'm going, like that makes sense now, like, all right, there's the proof, that it's what you need to know. Like, why would I go that way? Like, it doesn't look really great. You're like, oh, because you got to the destination and it's like actually right. The thing you said it was like, okay. Yeah. So on top of having him as like support and answering my questions, and he's done all the legwork and the research and he's had the experiences and he can talk about poop with me and, like all those things, I have somebody to be like, look what I found in my poop, like.
Gallstones.
On top of all of those things, I also had somebody who's like the closest genetic relative I could possibly have who went this way, and with everybody telling him it was the wrong way, including me saying it doesn't look like the right way, but okay. Well, I mean, it's not that it looked like it wasn't the right way, but right. It just didn't look like it was a better way than other ways, right. And then it was like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, no, that was it. So it's really easy for me to go that way and be like, I may get too skinny or I may, whatever, but like, I'll trust the process. Right, I see where we're going, like, I understand this is going to fundamentally change the bad thing that has made my body look like an unhealthy body for so long and be an unhealthy body for so long. Like, it'll fundamentally get there and like, and that can be accessed through this way. And man, that couldn't be more true,
Yeah,
like,
right.
Because it's not even just like this diet is good for my body type or, my body or a human body or anything. It's like,
it's so important.
This is now, and this never even crossed my mind until like recently, but being on day 50, 51, 52, like getting past the 50s and stuff. And I was trying to decide like, okay, so if I go out to eat with people later and I'm, off the juice and I'm eating, like, what would I eat? Am I raw vegan now? Like, what do I even decide to tell people? Like, I can only go to a restaurant as long as they serve raw vegan, or like, I could go to any restaurant as long as like they'll steam some broccoli for me, or, like I can get a salad, or, like, where are my lines now?
Right. And
I was trying to figure that out because I could tell my brain would be like, oh, but maybe they have a good vegan dressing. And then I'm like, well, if I say vegan, I'm going to find cheats, And if I say, whatever it is I could say, I'm going to find cheats and stuff. And so then I was trying to find like, okay, so like plant-based or something I could get out of a garden, or, like how would I say it, or how would I organize it in my mind to create some sort of something to hold on to. And it wasn't until after day 50 that it just clicked for me. And I was like, it's drugs. That's what it is. It's a drug. Is it a drug? So like, what can I eat at this restaurant that's not a fucking drug? Like, right. Okay, well, this dressing is vegan and it would be really delicious. Well, then it's probably a drug. Right. Like, okay, yeah, but they make this vegan burger and it's really like, and the bun is a drug, and the thing that they made in the middle is a drug, and all the sauces they put on are probably drugs.
And by the time I finish eating it, if there's a second one in front of me, I'd want to eat that one just as much as the first one, even though I'm full. And then by the time I finish that one and I'm stuffed, if I was allowed and physically capable of eating another one, I would want to eat another one. Like, there's a problem. It's like, even though it checks all those boxes, there's still a problem.
There's a problem.
Drug,
how do I define that problem? And all of a sudden it's like, it's a drug. It's a drug.
Yeah.
That's the
Food
answer.
Drugs.
And it reminds me of when I decided I didn't want to do alcohol anymore. I thought alcohol makes you, less inhibited, and it makes you, more yourself and all this stuff. And then I was in a relationship with an alcoholic, and he was not more himself when he was drunk. He was not even barely human. He was completely ridiculous and random and depraved, and like, he was not himself. Like, he was not more himself, and it broke in me. And I was like, well, I trust myself to make good decisions and to be me. And then if I get drunk, I don't know who I am and I can't trust me. And so this whole experience of juicing is teaching me to trust my body. I don't have to drink all the complex juices so I get all the greens and all the different things every day. I can just drink whatever the hell my body wants. I don't have to drink anything my body doesn't want. I can trust my body. But the only time I can't trust my body is when it's addicted to drugs. Like, if I give it the option of drugs, it's going to want drugs. Like, if I give it the option of, like, would you like avocado or some salad or some fruit, then it can make a sound decision based on what my body needs. But if I offer it drugs, it's going to say, I like drugs, you know, and then it's going to get addicted to drugs and be like, I really like drugs. Do you have any more of those drugs?
Right. It seriously flips in an instant. I mean, I've had enough of the juice feasting experiences now, like many single days and then week-long ones and then a couple week-long ones and the 30-day and a 60-day. And it doesn't matter, even at the end of the 60-day, at the end of the 30-day, I could feel exactly like she is and say those exact words of like, you know, oh, I never need anything. And it really is the moment that not even that you put it in your mouth, but that you've decided that something a little more complex is okay. It's done. You will eat until you are stuffed.
You become
an and then you'll be
again.
thinking about when the next time is, that you'll be able to come up with an excuse or a reason that it'll be okay to do it, which is probably in a couple hours, in an hour or two, especially since you're particularly emptied out within an hour or so. You'll feel like you've got room and you'll be ready to decide that you can have, you know, just about anything that's within whatever purview and rules you set up.
And then your journey isn't about like the trauma and the processing and like how your body is. Then the journey is about, what do I get to eat now?
Yes.
I'm not deprived anymore. Now I can live a good, full, fun life where I get to eat the fun things.
Be stimulated and then be stimulated and then be stimulated.
And then if I'm having a hard time, what's a treat that I can have? What's a drug I can take? Like, no. So yeah, I'm interested to see if at about 100 days that I feel like I can venture into like, you know, solid foods and I can avoid drugs, you know. But I also just kind of want to continue on, and once I get 100 days down, it feels like a good start to go a whole year, and like maybe I'll
surely
do that.
Sounds freaky to pretty much anybody on the planet.
Yeah.
But she at least recently has found a few people that have done that. One woman in particular that she was practically on her deathbed.
Yeah,
I mean,
very near death.
Completely emaciated, a young girl, you know, and she started a juice feast and she decided to go for a year at this point, and she's just about finishing the year now.
I think she's got less than 20 days now left. But she got rid of all of her medical supplies and her walkers and her, you know, wheelchairs and all of that stuff, and she's gotten away from the doctors and medicines and all of those things. It's another thing I've come off almost all of my supplements that I thought that I had to have in order to survive, and I just haven't even noticed them being missing. I've just slowly, when I run out in my organized container, I just don't add them back in, and I've just let myself slowly wean off of all of them. And I'm very impressed that no negative side effects. I'm not needing any of those things. I'm just trusting my body to, you know, to do what it needs to do, and it is. That woman, by the way, her Facebook page is called A Year of Juice, and she's really, really amazing. I highly recommend checking her out and following her. She's about to finish that journey, but I can't wait to see when she's done, and she's probably gonna have to write about, like, you know, where she started and where she got, and I am looking forward to reading more about, you know, how
that'll be incredible.
The whole journey.
That's been a big part of even just the last number of months and stuff for me, of really, you know, there's so many caveats that everybody adds when they're getting you into such an extreme thing as juice feasting or raw foods and that sort of thing, and we lean heavily on, like, the one thing we can still tell you is, like, well, just make sure you have to have you really need to focus on a diversity of foods. You know, you want to have simple foods for each meal, but you want to make sure that you have a diversity over the course of, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but listen to your body more than you listen to that rule. Is really what I'm starting to learn now. I'm not going to give you medical advice on it. You know, talk to a professional if you need to and that sort of thing, but I'm still finding that to make progress, the more things that I'm cutting out, the better that I'm doing. And it's because it needs to be simpler and simpler and simpler for my body to be more relaxed. And like she was saying, that her juices are getting a bit simpler as she goes along. Like, I originally was forcing having a bunch of different vegetables in my juices and forcing myself to change up which juices every, throughout the day and then every couple of days and that sort of thing. And I've found over the last year or two of like, I just always, whenever I think of juice and whenever, even after I've had like 3 or 4 quarts, if I want more juice, I'm looking for apple juice. I'm looking for just my apple juice with some greens and with my spinach and celery and cucumber. That I want that like every time. And then, taking the kale out of that and taking the carrots out and everything along those lines, simplifying my salads down and just continuing that direction. I've been able to watch, and this is in a long term for me, I've been able to watch as all of my health markers, all of my disease factors and chronic issues that I've had in the past that have gotten little bits better, and then at times they kind of reach a ceiling and that sort of thing. I'm getting more progress on those as it goes along, and I'm not ending up with brain fog. I'm not ending up with having other symptoms come up. And I've been expecting that the whole time. And I've been pretty sure by the time I removed the flax seeds and the chia seeds from my smoothies and everything, I was sure that, I'm taking out the omega-3s. I'm doing those so that I can get my omega-3s. And you got to get your omega-3s, especially because I'm having so many avocados with all those omega-6s. I really got to get those in. When I stopped doing those, I got so much better. And I'm not saying that you definitely shouldn't do, flax seeds, but you really, really need to listen to your body. If it's telling you to add more diversity in, do exactly that, and see if you start getting better.
It's amazing how much we have all those like programs that you have to do all of these things and you have to, but it's all like belief in a lack from our body that our body can't cope or handle certain things or whatever. And like, it's doing just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should probably run this up though because it's very dark now. I don't know how long if you can still see us. Or
we're probably completely blacked out at this point. But,
oops.
But yeah, definitely. But cool. Yeah, it's great. Is it even still recording?
Oh God.
No.
It's not.
No.
Oh my God.
Well, we still have the audio, I guess.
I have 33 minutes.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know how long we've gone.
It's fine. We've got a podcast out of it. Like, we can just drag out a still image for the rest of it.
Sharon says that she's leaving the Ford dealership, that the Ford Flex is now in perfect alignment. It was pretty bad, like I said.
Wow. That's funny.
Oh my God, Garrett.
Okay. We'll turn the camera back on, then we'll just apologize for the video going out and then wrap it up. Because we'll still have basically the entire thing. We just won't have the matching dark video that they probably couldn't see anyway.
Oh gosh, yeah, they won't be able to see us.
Yeah. You can turn the flash on probably. Oh God. Oh, I'm fucking blind.
Really? That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
the video cut out at 33 minutes.
Yep.
And we talked until it was pitch black outside.
Yeah, if you can't
tell. It was like 2 hours or something probably.
That's all right. You guys got to listen to all of it. We recorded it separately, so sorry for the still image. We're retarded.
Just gonna put like a picture of like juicing juices.
Yeah. I guess we'll have to record with the front-facing camera so we can actually see something and see when it turns off.
It won't be as high quality, but yeah, we'll be able to see what's happening.
I want to feel bad about it, but I mean, technically, it's impossible for us to see if and when it's turned off. Like
we had no idea.
Anyway, you wouldn't have been able to see us anyway with it getting so dark. So I guess it doesn't really matter. But
yeah, we got the audio.
So.
Yay. I don't want to touch it and mess up the audio. Okay.
But hopefully you guys got something out of that. And it's day 58, right?
Day 58. Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah,
Day
we're
58.
shooting for the day 100, and we'll.
You know what's really interesting is like it felt. I think the first week or so felt pretty slow. Maybe the second week or so, getting into like day 30, or it felt
Yeah.
pretty fast. And then I was heading to 50, and it felt pretty fast. And then there was something about hitting 50 that it was just like time slowed down so
Really?
much. It was like day 51 was so slow, you know, and like it's like only day 52, only day 53.
Wow.
Now that I'm getting close to 60, it's starting to feel like, you know,
it?
it's going again.
Wow.
But I think like because I'm planning to do 100 and 50 was my halfway mark, you
Right,
know, then it was
right.
like I made it, and then it was like
Uh-oh, we gotta
now
keep
what?
going. Yeah.
And so I was like keep going, but I was like, well, all right, but like
Yeah.
that was it. Like I made it, and now I think when I get to 100, it's probably going to be the same. It's going to be like it's done, and if I keep going, I'm going to be like.
Here we go.
Yeah, like starting all over again. Okay, to the next 50.
Pretty
you know?
much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I'm sure it will.
But,
It's just been amazing how slow the past few days have been. But now it feels
Right.
faster. Now that I've hit 58 and like I feel
Yeah.
like 60 is right on the corner and like I'm going again. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
weird. Super weird. Brains are weird.
No kidding. But yeah, we'll have to give you more updates. Maybe just at day 100.
Yeah,
It's
probably
been going pretty
close to
fast,
then.
but
Yeah.
but who knows? Maybe if we post it publicly rather than
Yeah.
posting it unlisted and
Yeah, yeah.
everything, maybe people will start yelling at us to come give you more updates. But we'll at least see you at day 100.
Yep.
See ya.